Today I will be discussing fifth concept in the first unit, that is basic concepts of object oriented programming. Here basic concepts means characteristics of object oriented programming. Characteristics of object oriented programming are given below. They are: first one class, second one object, third one encapsulation, fourth one obstruction, fifth one polymorphism, sixth one inheritance, next one dynamic binding, and the last one message passing. Now let us see what is a class. Class is one of the most essential and important features of object oriented programming in C++. It is defined as user defined data type. Class is defined as a user defined data type. Second definition: class is a container which holds data members and member functions. Now class is like a blueprint for an object. Next definition: a class is a user-defined data type which has data members and member functions. Now let us see last definition. Class is a group of objects. Now let us see declaration of the class. How do we declare a class? Here class is a keyword. Keyword class is always followed by class name. In the place of the class name we can write any valid identifier. Next we have to include the open bracket. Next, within the body either we can write data members or we can write member functions, or we can write both data members and member functions. Next we have to write closed bracket. The closed bracket is always followed by terminating semicolon. This is called declaration of the class. This is called declaration of the class. Here the class name is considered as a user defined data type. Now let us see example. Keyword class is followed by the student. So in the place of the class name we have written student. Data members, in the place of the data members here we have written int marks. Data members means variable declarations. Next, member functions means simply functions. Here we have written one function, that is return type is void. Name of the function is read underscore marks, is followed by parenthesis, then terminating semicolon. This is the declaration of the function or member function. Next we have written closed bracket. Closed bracket is followed by terminating semicolon. Look at the first definition. It is defined as a user defined data type. So here class is defined as a user defined data type. Here user defined data type is student. Now look at the second definition. Class is a container which holds data members and member functions. Yes. Here within the body of the class we have written data members and member functions. Now look at the fourth definition. Class is a user defined data type which has data members and member functions. Right. Now look here. Class is a group of objects. I will explain this definition in the next page. Okay, right. Now look here. Now let us see example of the class. For example, consider a class of the cars. they may be There may be many cars with different names and different bonds, but all of them will share common properties, like all of them will have four wheels, speed limit, mileage range, and etc. So here car is a class and wheels, speed limits, and mileage are its properties. In the class, the data members are called as a properties. In the class, data members called as a properties. Now look here. The data members are the data variables and member functions are the functions. These are the data members. Data members means these are the variables. Here marks is the variable. And member functions are the functions. This is the member function. In the place of the member function, here we have written simply void read underscore marks is a function. Right, look here. Next, the member functions are used to manipulate these variables. Means member functions are used to manipulate the data members. These data members and member functions define properties and behavior of objects in a class. In the above example of the class car, the data member will be speed limit, mileage, and member functions will be applying brakes and increasing the velocity, etc. Here applying brakes is a operation and increasing the velocity is also a operation. That is why the member functions are called operations. Here speed limit and mileage both are the numbers, so that is why they are called data members. Now let us go to next one, object. An object is one of the most essential and important features of the object-oriented programming in C++. An object is an entity with some properties and behavior. Means every object has certain number of properties and behavior. An object is an instance of the class. This is the definition of the object. What is an object? What is an object? Object is an instance of the class. Means instance of the class is called an object. Right. Now let us see another definition. An object is a variable of the class. Variable of the class means variable of a class is called an object. Now let us see next statement. When a class is defined, no memory is allocated to the members, but when the object is created, the memory is allocated to the members. Here members means data members. Now let us see creation of objects. Creation of objects. Now this is the syntax to create an object. First we have to write class name. Class name is followed by object or object name. Object name is followed by terminating semicolon. This is syntax is used to create only one object. This is used to create only one object. And let us see another syntax. First we have to write class name. Class name is followed by object 1 or object name 1, comma, object 2, comma, object 3. In this way we can create any number of objects. At the end we have to use terminating semicolon. Here we have created 3 number of objects. Here we have created only one object. Now look at the examples. Student. Student is a what? Class name. Already we have seen here. This is a student. Student is a class name. Now class name is followed by, here we have written one variable s1. S1 is an object. Object of which type? Class student type. So that is why S1 is called an object. Means this is a variable of the class. S1 is a variable of which class? Student class. That is why S1 is called an object. Now here we have created three objects. Student. Student is a class name. Class name is followed by S1, comma. S1 is followed by S2, comma. S2 is followed by S3. Here we have created three objects. But in the previous example here we have created only one object. Now let us go to the previous page. Definition of the class. Already here we have seen class is a group of objects. Class is a group of objects. Now look here. Here we have created three objects. So this is a class. Student is a class. This class is a group of objects. This class is a group of objects. So we have seen definition of the class, last definition of the class also. Totally we have seen how many definitions? 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 5 definitions. 5 class definitions. And here we have seen how many definitions of the object? First definition and second definition. Right. Already we have seen creation of objects also. Now let us go to third one. Encapsulation. Encapsulation is one of the most essential and important features of object-oriented programming in C++. In the object-oriented programming, encapsulation is defined as wrapping up data and functions under the single unit called Encapsulation means wrapping up of data and functions into the single unit is called encapsulation. Encapsulation is performed by only class. Right. Look here. Encapsulation in the C++. Here we have combined variables. Variables means data members. Functions. Functions means member functions. We have combined variables and functions into the single unit. This process is called encapsulation. Encapsulation is performed by the special tool. The tool is called class. Now, encapsulation also leads to the data abstraction or data hiding. Now let us see what is an abstraction. Abstraction. Data abstraction is one of the most essential and important features of the object-oriented programming in C++. Abstraction means displaying only essential information and hiding the internal details. Now let us see what is data abstraction. Data abstraction refers to providing only essential features to the outside world, hiding the background details or implementations. This is the definition of the data abstraction. Now let us see example. Consider a real life example of the man driving a car. A man only knows that pressing the accelerator will increase the speed of the car or applying the brakes will stop the car. But he doesn't know about the internal mechanism of accelerator and internal mechanism of the brakes. Here not inner, internal mechanism. This is internal word. Internal mechanism of the accelerator and internal mechanism of the brakes in the car. So this is called data abstraction. So here man doesn't know about the either internal mechanism of the accelerator or internal mechanism of the brakes, but he knows only how to press say an accelerator and how to increase the speed of the car. Right. Next, let us go to data hiding. Insulation of the data from the direct access by the program is called data hiding or information hiding. Data hiding is performed by a special access specifier that is called private. I will explain about the private in the second unit. Now, let us see another definition. RORR. Insulation of the data to the outside world is called data hiding. Now, by using data hiding, we can build secure programs in the C++. Means we can build secure programs by using data hiding concept of the C++. Right. Next, let us go to next one, that is polymorphism. In a Greek term polymorphism, poly refers to many and morphism refers to operations to be performed. Now let us see definition. Performing many operations either by using single function or by using single operator is called polymorphism. Now let us see example. For example, a person at the same time can have different characteristics, like a man acts as a brother at the home and acts as an employee at the organization. So the same person possesses different behaviors at different situations. This is called polymorphism. This is called polymorphism. An operation may show different behaviors in the different instances. An operation may show means an operation may exhibit different behaviors in the different instances is called polymorphism. An operation may show different behaviors in the different instances is called polymorphism. The behavior depends upon the types of the data used in the operation. Right. Next, look at the next sentence. In the C++, Polymorphism is classified into two types. They are operator overloading. Second one is function overloading. Operator overloading. The process of making an operator to exhibit different behaviors at different instances is known as a operator overloading. I will explain about operator overloading in the fourth unit. Now let us see function overloading. Function overloading is using a single function name to perform different types of tasks. Now I will explain function overloading concept in the second unit. Polymorphism is extensively used in implementing the inheritance. Okay, I will explain inheritance concept in fifth unit. I will explain polymorphism and inheritance, both concepts in fifth unit. Now let us see inheritance. What is inheritance? Inheritance is one of the most important feature of the object-oriented programming. Now let us say definition. Deriving a new class from the old class is called inheritance. Now let us see second definition. The capability of a class to derive the properties and characteristics from the other class is called inheritance. Now let us see definition of the subclass and superclass. Now, subclass. The class which inherits properties from another class is called subclass, or it is also called derived class, or it is also called child class, or it is also called new class. New class, child class, derived class, subclass, all are same. Next, let us see superclass. The class whose properties are inherited by the subclass is called base class, or it is also called superclass, or it is also called parent class, or it is also called old class, or it is also called existing class. It is also called existing class. These are the definitions of the inheritance, subclass, superclass. Subclass is also called new class. Superclass is also called old class or existing class. Now let us see what is the advantage of the inheritance. Advantage of the inheritance is reusability. In the object-oriented programming, inheritance supports the concept of reusability. Means the derived class reuses the members of the base class for developing inheritance. For example, let us take uh, this is a first class. Here I am writing first class. First class is called what? Old class. It is also called base class. It is also called super class, or it is also called parent class. This is called old class, first class. Now here I am creating one more class, or I am deriving one more class. This class is called derived class, or it is also called new class, or it is also called child class. Now, this is a new class. Now look here. Derived class reuses the members of the base class. Members means either they may be data members, they may be member functions, or they may be properties. Means the derived class reuses members of the base class for developing inheritance. Means the properties of the old class are inherited into the new class. The properties of the old class are inherited into the new class, or the properties of the base class are inherited into the derived class. This is called reusability. Now we can add some additional feature to the subclass without modifying an existing class. Means the derived class or new class reuses the properties of the base class, and at the same time we can add some more additional features to the derived class. This is possible by deriving a new class from the existing class. Now this is the new class, this is the old class, is the existing class here. Now in this way we can add some more new features to the newly derived class. Now let us see example. dog, cat, cow can be derived class of animal base class. In this example, animal is a base class. Base class are old class. Now here we have three derived classes. Three derived classes. They are dog class, cat class, and cow class. Means dog class reuses the properties of the animal class. Cat class also reuses the properties of the animal class, and cow is also reuses properties of animal class. This is the example of the inheritance. I will explain about the inheritance concepts, all inheritances in the fifth unit. Now, at this time, you have to understand what is the subclass, what is the superclass, what is an inheritance, and what is the advantage of the inheritance. Advantage of the inheritance is reusability. That's all. You have to learn only these points. Now, let us go to next point. Next one is dynamic binding. Dynamic binding is one of the most important features of object-oriented programming. Now let us see what is dynamic binding. Linking the member functions with their objects during the runtime is called dynamic binding. I will explain dynamic binding concept in the fifth unit. C++ uses virtual functions to support the dynamic binding. Uses virtual functions to support the dynamic binding. Now let us see last one, that is message passing. In the object-oriented programming, message passing involves following basic steps. They are creating classes, creating objects, and establishing communication among the objects. Among the objects. Now, objects communicates with one another by sending and receiving the information to the each other. Now, message passing involves specifying the name of the object and name of the function and information to be sent. In order to perform the message passing, we have to follow these steps. What are they? First, we have to write name of the object. Name of the object. Already we have seen object name here. What was the name of the object in the class declaration? That is S1. Already we have seen it. Yes. Student S1. Here S1 is an object. Student is a class name. Here we have to write S1. S1 is an object. Object name is followed by dot operator. Next we have to write name of the function. Name of the function means student. Student or student data, whatever it may be. Here you can write anything. Student or student data. Next, information to be sent. Information to be sent. Here information to be sent is properties of the class. Properties of the class means data members. They are name and rule number, or you can send anything. These are the properties of the data members of the class. Data members are properties of the class. In this way we can perform the message passing.